So this episode is very special. If you've read the title already, you know that it's going to feature Yann, our favorite unpaid intern and only one at this moment. I wanted to mention a couple things before we jump in. First, this episode was recorded about a little over a year from the time that you'll hear it, meaning it was actually at the very beginning of me bringing him into all of this. It was only a kind of a couple weeks into the time that we spent trying to work together. I actually had the hardest time editing it because I feel like I was watching two people who were time capsuled a little bit. I mean, the conversation is still very relevant. It's very funny because this isn't just someone I'm interviewing, right? This is like somebody I know and I'm growing with every single day. And I guess in that way, it's really, really special also to be able to see our growth in how we just have consistent dialogue on these topics, even just here at home. In typical We Cultivate spirit, I hope that you will allow this episode to be a place where you can examine some potentially hidden biases, assumptions. I think we often think of biases like a bad word. We all have biases. Let me be very, very clear. We all have them in ways that we didn't know. We all have unconscious leanings towards things simply because we are the product of our education, our surroundings, our environment, our own brain, and values as well. I'm not sure where this mentality exactly came from, but a lot of people seem to equate France as the country with the city of Paris. And yes, Paris is the capital city. Even if we just consider the larger Paris metropolitan area, that only accounts for a small minority of the country of France. And so I kind of run into some issues in my personal life when I talk to people and they just cannot break from this idea that my husband is from some tiny village, which, okay, technically he'll talk about where he's from, but almost that his experience is somehow an exception to the rule or a one-off because he happened to be out in the middle of nowhere. I don't think people do enough of their own research when they think about different countries. This is probably a pretty universal concept. While I can't say that Jan's speaking for the whole country, that can't happen for anyone. His sort of background profile in terms of being from a more rural area, what he had access to language-wise, and we go over all those aspects. Those are all things that I have almost had to advocate for, or I don't know, kind of push to provide space for, because many people that I talk to just in my private life seem to think it's up for debate. I think that not enough people think about how countries might present themselves a certain way. They might have certain exports or a certain image they want to show to the world. That does not mean, like, for instance, France is known for a couple of things, including luxury items and fashion. That does not mean that every single person is walking around with Louis Vuitton bags, and it's kind of mind-blowing to me. And again, this is coming from people who I just would never have expected this from. So that's one thing. That's what I wanted to say. The second is that Yan, like all of my guests, did put together a related resource list for you all. And on that list, you will actually find pictures of a knife that he did not get to mention during our recording. So this knife is actually really important, not only in his family, but in the region. It has massive historical significance, but also traditional significance because of the fact that, for instance, where he is from in particular in this region, and he's included many links on the region. There's a whole YouTube video also of how beautiful it is, and he was so happy when he found it. It's like 1 hour long, just let it play, just watch the deer. But this is a pocket knife that is customized for the recipient, and you get this knife when you are generally a kid, but when you've learned to read. Personally, I just thought it was like the most adorable thing. I'm not gonna lie. The first time he took out this knife and I was like, whoa, what is this? I was just like, oh my God, it's so wholesome. So I encourage you to go online during or after the episode and take a look at the pictures and the resources. You will actually see Jan very, very soon again because we recorded a Valentine's Day episode together. Do feel free to reach out to him directly to let him know what you thought of his episode. And I really, really hope you all enjoy, not just because he's the unpaid intern and not just because of our relationship or anything, just I hope you enjoy because I really believe that each one of us has these stories and thoughts to share, and I encourage you to this year also find your own. So here is my conversation with Yann. Well, I am very pleased to welcome a very special guest today, someone who is a complete stranger in my life. Totally kidding, of course. Welcome, Yann.
Hi,
Thank you for being here. Thank you for doing this.
hi everybody. Thank you to invite me in your podcast. I'm honored.
You're honored. Well,
Yeah.
I think that it makes perfect sense, actually, given that so much of our life, well, first of all,
Mm.
because I decided to go on this whole entrepreneurial journey, so much of your daily life is filled
Mhm.
with me talking about these topics. And since we do regularly have conversations on these different issues, I figured it would make sense to actually spotlight not just your background and story, but all
Mhm.
your thoughts also,
Mhm.
because we might be married, but we are certainly different people, and we live different
Clearly.
things.
Yeah.
So why don't we have you introduce yourself a little bit, let everyone know who you are.
Oh, okay. What can I say? First, your husband, and I'm working for Cultivate now since some weeks,
Yeah, officially. Yeah.
officially. But I always supported your work, and
Yeah.
I always been behind you, and
Yeah.
so I know what's happening more or less since
Mm-hmm.
2 years,
Mm-hmm.
and I know this project. About me, what can I say? I'm from France. I think now everybody knows. But I'm saying is this because I think it's relevant to say I'm from France because it involved a lot of cultural things. And I think we're going to talk about it a little bit
Mm-hmm.
later. Something more personal, but I worked with children during many years and not as a teacher, but as an educator.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're talking about education or culture or whatever it is, yeah, I have some echo in my mind
Mm-hmm.
and in my head because, yeah, of course, it reminds me a lot of things that happened in my life, in my professional life before.
Mm-hmm.
So we are really, I think, complementary, and it's really interesting because yeah, we don't see things absolutely not sometimes the same with the same prism, and I'm really happy now to join this journey with you.
I just want to clarify that using a prism, right? I think it's reflective because I know you. We are using different prisms to see the same topics, meaning we
Yeah,
don't approach it the same way.
yeah,
But
we say yeah.
yeah, but it's supposed to be that, right? Because every
Mhm.
person, it's not about whether or not you and I agree on something, right? It's we have dialogue constantly because our individual prisms were shaped by
Mhm.
our individual life experiences. That's our lens, that's our filter and how
Mhm.
we see the world. So let's go a little bit into your education and your background with learning. So formative education, thinking academic things, and also how you've experienced languages and learning as a whole.
Oh, okay. I have a really really traditional education in France. So you're obliged to go to school in France, like in a lot of country,
Yeah.
from three, I think, or something like that, until the age of 15 or 16. And after you can choose to stay at school. And more or less at 18, you have like what we call the baccalaureate. It's like school grades and you choose more or less after if you go to college, if you want to learn a work.
Like a trade, I think, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's very globally before college. It's
Mm-hmm.
and so what I've done is in between college and studying like real work. It's
Mm-hmm.
what we call technical
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
university
Mm-hmm.
diploma, and so I've done that. It's 2 years, but also in between that, and it's not in between. During that, as a child, I had the chance to learn sailing, and I went to the same place like during more than 10 years learning sailing. And after I became a trainer, and because it was a camping and there was a lot of tourists, there was a lot of people talking different languages.
Mm-hmm.
So most of them were German or from Netherlands or from Belgium or whatever, or England. And so I really saw how very fast, or it was interesting to at least learn some vocabulary and for trying to communicate. And it was funny because it was at the same time I discovered that I had a particular link with children. Like it was quite easy for me to communicate with children, to teach sailing with children, and also different languages.
Mm.
So at the same time, I was around
Mm.
17, 18, and I totally understand how it was important for me to communicate. And it was at this age, I was very shy before. And it was at this age also that I opened myself to the world.
Mm.
And I understood that the most important is communication, whatever the type of communication, however you can do that. The most important it was to, yeah, to create link and in between people and try to learn and teach from other person. And later, just yeah, I was something like 20. I had to find my way, and I didn't know what to do. And so I decided to travel a little bit, and I spent 1 year in England, in London, for working in hotel or restaurants, whatever. And again, what I saw and what I understood, it was like whatever my level of English, my level of any other language, the most important is find a way to communicate and
Mm-hmm.
to understand each other. So yeah, I think as a French people, I was confronted more than usual person to other languages.
Mm.
I have to remind people that in France, until recently, you don't speak at all in school when you're learning a language. You learn more
Mm-hmm.
to write, to read, to not even understand. It's just
Mm.
really everything that is oral is really like secondary. So in this different experience, I had to find the resource, like because I studied English at school, but I never applied it. So I had to find a way to take this thing and to apply it. And
Mm-hmm.
I think it's something that it's a real huge gap in between formalized education and real life.
Mm.
And it's something that I found really interesting in Cultivate, that trying to fill this gap. And it's not trying to fill this gap, is knowing that there is a gap, a huge
Mm.
gap in between traditional education and real life. And it's like you try to heal. I don't know to say, you know what I mean? I don't know all people you work with, and because there is privacy and everything, and you keep that.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
what I understand a little bit that is people, yeah, don't have a good education, a better level of English than me, and like a lot.
Mm.
But when they are confronted in real life,
Mm.
in specific situation like work or friends or whatever, or family or whatever, they are like, okay, I have a background. I have like grammar, vocabulary, everything,
Mm.
but I don't know how to apply it. I remember when I was teaching sailing, I just knew how to say like the different part of a boat and push and just
Mm-hmm.
push and pull. And
Yeah.
it was very basic. I didn't made any real sentences. I was just like, oh, push. I don't even remember now because I don't
Mm-hmm.
use it anymore. But
Mm-hmm.
and it was not even the right nautical terms,
Mm-hmm.
but people understood me, and it
Mm-hmm.
was the most important. And
Mm-hmm.
we didn't need to have a high level. We just needed to find the way to understand each other. So yeah, some people were had better English than me, but they tried to go lower
Mm.
for me, and I tried
Mm.
to up my
Right.
level. And we try to find the way to communicate.
Right.
And
A middle ground.
a middle ground. And it's really that if we're talking about languages in general and
Mm.
language and English, for me, especially, it's that. It's
Mm.
really what is interesting. And I think I wrote something in the newsletter recently about
Mm.
that. It's what
Mm.
amazed me is that it's
Mm.
just finding a way to communicate
Mm-hmm.
and to understand each other.
So I want to highlight a few points just for clarity and just for context, okay, so that people can better understand all that you've kind of overcome through your life
Hmm.
as it pertains to language, as it pertains to backgrounds. So, number one, when you say travel, you travel to London. I think it's important to, number one, highlight you are not from a region of France that is anywhere close to Paris. Okay, so we're not talking about a big cosmopolitan background with a lot of different, exposure and influence. And well, I'll let you kind of explain where you're from originally, but you often joke with my friends that you grew up between two cows because
Yep.
that's basically, and I've been there plenty of times. Um, but it's I think it's important to clarify because many people do associate travel with wealth, with means.
Yeah.
None of us choose how what the families we were born into or the backgrounds that we had, but
Hmm.
I think I just want to clarify that you, first of all, took it upon yourself to seek out an experience like that. And it was not some like language immersion. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't some sort
No,
of like
no, no.
specialized things. It was, I'm gonna just move to London, put myself there. You put on a suit, you went
It
door to
was,
door.
yeah, it was hard. It was a hard
Yeah,
experience because I really didn't know any work. I didn't
yeah,
know the language really well.
yeah,
So it was really throwing myself in
yeah.
like a total new experience.
Yeah. Yeah. And people weren't particularly kind, even if it's the country next door, right? It's a little, well, you guys have a long history, long, long, long history of disliking each other. Another thing I want to highlight is actually the lack of technology presented to you throughout this time. I don't want for people to misunderstand. To this day, we're recording right now. It's the end of 2024, about to be 2025.
Hmm. Hmm.
Correct me if I'm wrong. From what I understand, inside of the standard public education system of
Hmm.
France, the use of computers and the use of I'm not talking technology, I'm just talking computers at this point, right? Technological literacy, but in the most rudimentary way. It is not a part of the national program,
It
or it
is,
is. Yeah.
but quite late in comparison
Mm.
to other countries,
Mm-hmm.
and it's very, very, very rudimental.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the children know more than I would say, the teacher. But
Mm. Mm.
yeah, it's true. It's true because the educational system is not even like updated. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know how to say that,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
it's late. I
Yeah.
mean, now I think like teenager everywhere in the world know better than our French teacher.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
how to
Yeah.
use Instagram or
Mm-hmm.
whatever
Mm-hmm.
apps
Mm-hmm.
or whatever, like Google Drive
Right.
or whatever. And yeah, I was not confronted to that. So I will
Mm.
come back on my history. Yeah, I come from southwest of France, like quite the
Mhm.
countryside. I was a little bit different because my parents were not farmers and they have quite not high education, but higher than the regular people living in the
Mm.
country at this time.
Mhm.
So I was educated like a little bit different than my friends.
Mm.
Most of them were working in the fields with their
Mm.
parents, going to school, and their goal in their life was to be farmers after their parents.
Mm.
So
Mhm.
so yeah, I was more open to that. But in that, I was like still in France, so not really confronted to social mixity, to even race
Mm.
mixity or whatever. I was really like the countryside. So I don't know how, but I'm saying we because I have also a brother.
Mm.
We try to open us, and we were maybe more
Mm.
open than a lot of people
Mhm.
about all this question about languages and everything. But also very late in comparison to other country on all of this topic
Mm.
because it was French, it was countryside, and France is still like quite late about all this question. And it's another topic, but if I can just say a word about that, I feel like France hide itself behind laws and saying, oh, racism is forbidden in the law. So now the problem is solved
Mm.
because it's in the law, and
Mm.
it doesn't work like that.
Mhm.
And and we can see that the last election, the far right just was bigger than ever. So yeah, we have a lot of work to do. I grew up in this environment like, oh yeah, everything is fine, everything is good. We are not racist. We have a good education and everything. But finally, and I'm more than 40 now, I understand just now how late we were. And oh, it's not magic, but I was lucky
Mm,
to advance a little bit more than a lot of my friends
mm,
and close friends also
mm-hmm.
on all these topics, and especially about language. Well, it's really a big topic,
Yeah,
a
yeah.
complicated
So,
one. Yeah.
and tying it back to the absence of technology. So the reason I wanted to clarify about, and I
Mhm.
didn't mean to say there's nothing. It's just
No, we are late.
if we compare what is sufficient for even 20 years ago, it is
Mhm.
that was the biggest shock to me, I think. Just realizing that there is this massive gap. However, so definitely a different episode, different topic for a different day, talking about how to improve education systems. And what I want to focus on is the fact that you didn't have, say, Google Translate. Smartphones weren't even a thing when you were in London,
No, no.
so the point I want to make is you had to do it the old-fashioned way. Granted, you're not like ancient, okay, but like it was a different time, and still the country is, due to the fact that it is a little bit delayed in some areas, it is still a different time, even in
Mhm.
this day and age. So I want to just stress that. Again, I don't know how you and even your brother managed to to kind of be, you just said it yourself, right? Like a little bit ahead in a way. I don't know how that happened. Do you know what I mean? Like I find it so incredible and spectacular, and I just kind of wonder, out of personal curiosity, what those key factors were to kind of
I,
uh, catalyze your whole journey to now.
I, yeah, I just to put in the context about technology and you remind people, I had my first mobile phone. It was not a smartphone when I came back from London.
Mm,
So just for people to see
right,
in time,
right, right.
and the difference with my brother, we have 5 years old gap.
Mm,
So he knows more, like a lot more about computers, things, and technologies than me. And the thing that I think helped us a lot, that was my mother was working in a school and with a lot of technical people. It was
mm,
a technical school. And so there was a lot of people that were working on computers a little bit. So they pushed my mother to buy a computer, even if at this time she didn't know how to use it.
mm,
So we had our first computer quite earlier than most regular people. But nobody knew how to deal with that.
mm,
And so for me, it was already a little bit late because it
mm,
was the time I left home to go to study and to go in England and everything. But for my brother, he spent like
mm,
hours in front of the
mm,
computer and yeah, learning by himself.
mm-hmm.
Totally. And just to remind people, it was computers. You had to wait like 10 minutes to
Yeah,
download one picture, and it was
yeah.
horrible. I think he had a lot of patience. And that's it. And most of the people that know how to use computers and technology in France just learn it by themselves. Of course, there is school after, there is university, there is technical studies and everything. Of course, again, I was lucky. All these things came at the same time. The level of education of my parents, context of my mother work,
Mm-hmm.
because if she was, for example, I don't know, a teacher, but in a like normal school, maybe
Mm,
we never had a
mm,
computer at home. And so, yeah, I think we were lucky. And also, I think we grew up in a really open mind context. And even if, of course, the generation of my parents, an older generation, had like cliche about a lot of things,
mm,
they were also able to open a little bit their mind,
mm,
and that's how I discover hip hop also,
mm.
or like music groups that my mother was listening, and because she had
Yeah.
like this idea that everything can evolve. And that's what I've done. And I tried to do when I was working with children to just open, not to say there's something good, something bad, but just to
Yeah.
say there is so many ways and just try to deal with everything
Right.
and open your mind and don't spend your too much time in boxes. And
Yeah.
yeah, don't spend too much. Of course, you need to learn vocabulary. Of course, you need to learn grammar at a moment when you learn a language. But it's not only that. So everything is linked. And so the link I'm making with my own journey, that is like, I think I grew up in a world, a very small world, family world, that people were more or less open and try to accept other
Right.
things. I'm gonna give an example. For a lot of people, it's gonna be like crazy. So little town in the country, the first fast food when it opened, it's a very traditional part of France, like everywhere in France, in fact. But
Yeah.
it's
I was
very
gonna say this is not
traditional.
the
It's
exception. You
yeah,
guys
that it's very
represent the
traditional.
rule. Yeah.
Um, and I'm in a family where we like our traditions. We like to do that, but we are not close. And I remember going with my mother or my father, I don't remember exactly which one, but going to this fast food and try hamburgers and cheeseburger, my first cheeseburgers, and everybody was like, "What is it? No, we don't know that, so we don't try that." And I feel like it's a real problem in France. Actually, it's when we don't know, we don't want to try. To protect ourselves, we are still saying, "Oh, I don't want to try because we are the best." And in fact, no, it's just so. It's my feeling. People are fearing things that are new. And in languages, particularly, I can feel exactly the same. We learn English at school, but people are shy, don't want to try. And so when you are someone coming in France and trying to communicate, if you don't know how to speak French, so you're trying English, and it's normal to try to English because most of half of the population learn basic English at school, and people don't want to speak English. And is it because we have an education like we don't talk at school, or is it because we are taught that we have to be perfect? And I really think that in every language is taught in school in French, the first lesson should be like, okay, the what is the goal? The goal is to communicate. So how we communicate. And I think we should spend more time in the beginning of learning a language at school. At school, I'm talking at school. Yeah, make people understand that what is the goal to learn a new language. I never had that at school. Never, never, not never. Nobody told me what was the purpose to learn a language. I was lucky that at home people told me, yeah, it's because if you travel or to understand. My parents listened a lot of music, so like my first like lyrics I understood it was Dire Straits and Pink Floyd, and so
Yeah.
Bob Marley. And
Yeah.
but if you are in a family, they don't listen music
Yeah.
or only French music. They don't travel. That was what happened to most of my friends when I was living in this part of France. They don't know why learning
Yeah.
English. And if I talking in general, I think we have a lack of it in the education in France, at least, telling what is the purpose of what you're learning. Like mathematics, why you're learning mathematics?
Yeah.
Why
Yeah.
you're learning French? I mean, yeah, orthograph, grammar, spelling. Why is it so important? Why is it so important? Or why it could be important? It can be important. And it's all about communication, even mathematics for me, even physics, even it's all about communication. It's just knowledge, and knowledge help everybody to understand each other. That's why I mean, if people know you a little bit, you have studied a lot of different things because when you like to communicate or when you like to learn, you understand. And if you understand the link in between learning and communicating, it's really, really important.
I think it's actually, you're echoing something that is quite universal, but that doesn't devalue how important it is. I think that many times people hear, oh, it's a problem in that country. Oh, well, it's also a problem in mine and this one and that one. And therefore, it's almost as if the conversation stops there. And what I want to point out is just because you see a problem everywhere doesn't mean that the problem is therefore the solution. Like it should stay that way. It's almost something that I've never quite understood. And when I talk about improvements that say the US might need to make beyond education or on other social policies, and people say, oh, well, it's worse in my country or it's worse.
Mm-hmm.
That's not my purpose of bringing it up. My purpose is to find solutions. My purpose is to
Mm-hmm.
drive us towards progress, or my purpose is to have a conversation about how we might be able to do that. And it's almost as though just because we see this problem everywhere, and it is international, by the way, the way that languages are taught is very weirdly similar in almost all countries, except I think we found Finland is kind of like an exception, and a couple other isolated cases.
Northern, yeah, Northern Europe.
But it's almost a little bit shocking how many times you see the same problem replicated over and over, and everyone just goes, okay, well, that's the way it is, and the end. And we've therefore resolved it because we all share the
Mm-hmm.
same issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
Something I want to highlight also, something I just want to go back, two things. One is that you mentioned your family being open-minded, so I've gotten to know your family a bit, right? It's not just that they're open-minded, because open-minded is not a fixed state of being. It doesn't mean they're not traditional either. What I
No.
can say I appreciate about them, they are actually very traditional, in my opinion, very
Yeah, yeah,
traditional.
yeah.
However, they have certain viewpoints, they as a whole, right? I'm not going to go individually, but they are also able to update and adapt their points of view depending on new information presented. And that could be
Mm-hmm.
through conversations with me, conversations with other people, conversations with you, right? As part of the
Mm-hmm.
family, as you go and you have different experiences. And it's
Mm-hmm.
dialogue based. It's not, you must think this, you must be that, you must conform to this. That's what I appreciate so much. And I see it even in my family, which I just never thought as a kid this could happen because
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to go into my whole background, but ultra traditionalism is often seen as such a fixed piece of a person's
Mm-hmm.
identity. And what I think is really interesting is I would argue that I actually was burdened more by tradition in a way,
Mm-hmm.
right, in my family structure. But it's to say that there is no conflict. It's about how you handle the evolution of a person's life or your mentality with it, right? Many people say, "Oh, I'm open-minded," and in fact, you find their definition of open-mindedness
Exactly.
is A, B, C, D, and in fact, it's a directly contradictory position to take. Yeah.
Yeah, and we can also say that yeah, open-mindedness could be like another box.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah,
Could
yeah,
be really
absolutely.
another box and other topics that really interested me. I see how much people they say, "Oh, I'm open-minded." No, you're open-minded in a certain box,
Hmm.
but you don't accept other things, and that's
Exactly.
I think it's the most difficult for I think for everybody. We have limits. And I think it's really hard to be like completely open-minded, but at least trying and understanding again why we don't. I think.
There is, and this came up on a different episode, the responsibility of an educator and
Mhm.
the lines and the boundaries around that. When I hear stories about how teachers are teaching their own opinion as part of the language, so this could come out as, okay, well, in English, you have to do this because stupid English is so annoying and it thinks it's better than French. And you have to, do you understand what I mean? This additional information, which is in fact a personal opinion and formed by what?
Doesn't.
I mean, it's not appropriate on the other side either. If I had a French teacher
No,
that
no.
said,
It's.
oh, because all French people think this and that's why you have to learn it. I think it's the burden and the responsibility on that teacher to be very, very prudent in what they're choosing to convey. And if they want to make a personal opinion, they separate that
Mhm.
from the material itself, right? Because way too many people absorb cultural biases this way, stereotypes that certainly have no place.
Yeah, and it's totally true. Like this kind of comment. Of course, when you're adult and you have to use English, you are traumatized. You are
Mm-hmm.
like full of cliche, of stereotypes, and walls like
Yeah.
full of closed
Yeah.
doors
Mm.
in your mind
Mm-hmm.
because oh, you have to be perfect,
Mm-hmm.
and English
Mm.
people or American people are stupid. Oh, blah blah
Mm.
blah 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 blah, and just is it very complicated? And my God, I have so much things to learn in English. And but that's the good part also that, and I'm not trying to sound like American people. I'm
Mm,
trying to make me understand.
mm-hmm,
That's a thing. So sometimes I catch some expression and everything because for me, I find it fun or I find it more relevant or more precise finally, or because we
mm,
don't have the equivalent in French. So
mm-hmm,
sometimes I'm like, whoa, it's
mm-hmm,
perfect. This word is like, it's such a gift to meet
mm,
people from other country. It's such
yeah,
a gift to understand that there is other culture, other way to see things, other way to think,
mm-hmm,
other way to feel, even feeling,
right,
because we don't have the same words, so we don't have the same patterns
right,
in our head. The way we are doing sentence in French,
mm-hmm,
it's really clear that sometimes it's like a mess because we can make like very, very long sentences.
yeah,
And I feel like in English, and especially US English, you
yeah,
can make
it's like
very
ultra compressed,
short,
yeah,
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 very short and very, yeah, I do think that the way we are thinking our language,
mm,
I think there is in every languages, when you use some words, specifically, it means something very specific
mm-hmm,
and that it's impossible to translate most of the
yeah,
time
yeah,
and really hard to explain sometimes. And we had this discussion yesterday about okay.
mm-hmm.
And for me, it was like, yeah, okay, okay
Well,
means
it's not the okay, Jan,
just
it's the
no,
way
but
you're
yeah,
saying
but
okay, it's your
no, but
tone.
yeah, but again, the tone can be really different in a
Yeah,
language and another. So
yeah,
again, it's really related to a lot of things, and we don't learn that at school. Never. Nobody told me that language carry culture, carry a different way to express or tone or whatever. And
mm-hmm,
my God, I'm learning. I'm learning right just now. I'm really
mm,
learning about that. And I learned a lot about myself too. Yeah, learning a language. I'm trying to learn also Mandarin Chinese, and I see how much it's okay, it's complicated for different reasons, tone and pronunciation and everything, but also the way they build
mm,
sentences.
mm,
And because I know you a little bit and you explain some words are really, again, like have a very particular meaning that it's hard to translate.
right,
And so it's a concept.
mm-hmm,
And so, yeah,
mm,
every
yeah.
language has, with some words, has their own concepts.
If we can even just take it into French and English, and I look at certain words in an English context and those same words in a French context, and the meaning is totally
Totally
different.
different. Totally.
So it's something even beyond just finding the right words or trying to translate them perfectly. Sometimes we have the exact same
Exactly.
word.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Cliche is a French word that we use differently in English. And you guys, oh,
Oh my God,
Let's not even
we have
start on
so
all the
much.
words you guys have made up. Okay. So what I want to say is it's the conceptual kind of container that is dictated by the language that you're using, not intrinsic to the word itself. And I think somehow people are forgetting this, or rather haven't learned it.
Yeah, and something really funny. We use in French a lot of English words.
Yeah. I don't think people
That
know how
doesn't
many, by
help.
the way.
They, that doesn't help
Yeah.
a lot
Yeah.
at all. Jogging or something.
Oh my goodness,
Just
jogging and footing and like
yeah, yeah.
so
It's so
this is
funny.
where I appreciate that we didn't remake new French words. We used obviously like we took French words and integrated them in, and
Mm-hmm.
there are so many historical reasons for that, by the way, why we call an appetizer an entree. It's like there's so
Yeah,
many
yeah,
things,
yeah. So,
we
yeah.
can search them all, right? However, we did not create new ones that you'd have to learn in the place of the real ones. We might have different now kind of social and conventional understandings of specific words. For instance, cliche and stereotype are used very
Yeah, yeah,
differently
yeah, yeah.
in modern
I still,
English speaking
yeah.
society versus in France, right?
Mhm.
So, okay, fine. However, I think there is an additional hurdle that was created by actually I don't know if it's the academy or what, but I think the French speakers have to go through the fact that your English words are in fact not the English words that are used by English speakers. You have to get through that first, and then you have to get to the actual other side of understanding what is
Mm-hmm.
actually used, and then deal with the fact that there are so many different varieties of English, right? Not only accents, but like we have different words depending
Yeah,
on
yeah, yeah.
where we are. So yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, it's a language that I'm talking about English, but there is so many countries with different variation, different
Yeah.
accents.
Yeah.
So the same word can in UK or in US or in Australia can mean really different things.
Hmm.
So every time it's not only about language, it's about everything around this language.
Right. So what I would like to do is actually just kind of touch on something that you mentioned and is the obvious aspect of why you're on this podcast. You and I did not know each other until, to be honest, until more recently. I mean, I'm not going to act like we just met yesterday, but in terms of life history, it's one of the newer things to happen for us both. And for those who don't know, we just got married this summer. What I want to talk about now is kind of the how do I want to put this? The joys of being an international, bilingual, multilingual,
Mhm.
multicultural couple. I will say you did not speak English anything close to this, first of all, when we first met. And also, I for sure did not speak like any French at that time at even close
Not a
to
lot, yeah.
anything. I mean, I could understand way more than I could speak, but having never studied it prior to
Mhm.
moving, yeah. So here's the thing. I want to ask you to talk about all those early day experiences meeting me, needing to understand that I don't exactly slow down for anyone when I talk. And I'm
Yeah,
actually pretty fast in French as well. So, right, it's just like my
sure.
speed.
It's true.
But also
True,
the
true.
way, yeah, the way that you managed that and navigated that and that sort of more recent journey with the English language. Can you talk a little about that?
Yeah, I will start with the beginning. I remember when we first met and the first time we dated, we had a lot of conversation about topics we really appreciate each other. I remember we talked like for hours, like
Mm,
4 or 5 hours, and I remember, oh, I was so tired, and so it was really difficult to maintain the flow, to maintain the focus.
mm,
But I made this effort. Again, I don't feel like my English really improved since. Maybe a little. I'm not, objective, I think.
mm,
But what is for sure, it's easier to understand, to follow you or other people, even if I don't understand word for words everything. Yeah, or to watch a movie in English
mm,
or whatever. I'm reading less and less subtitles,
mm,
the English subtitles most of the time. So yeah, to be confronted to a language, to a culture, to a country, to everything is the key for me. It's really the key in learning. And today, in our couple, it's still a challenge every day.
mm,
It's still a challenge because even if we were both native,
mhm.
being a couple is a challenge, right?
Yeah.
My point of view, but I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of people share the same idea of
Yeah.
couple. We are not 15 anymore, so
No.
nothing is like perfect.
Butterflies,
But
rainbows,
yeah, yeah,
fireworks.
exactly.
Yeah.
The magic.
Yeah.
So even if we are talking exactly the same language, it's a challenge. It's a challenge for many reasons, family culture or
Mm,
the personal behavior or whatever
mm-hmm,
is a challenge.
mm-hmm,
So adding to this a language,
mm.
it's a really big challenge.
Right.
And I think again, the key is if you keep the channel open to a communication. I'm not saying it's easy. You're not, I am not, you're not. Nobody is like 100% of the time open to keep the channel
Hmm. Oh, I
open.
know. Yeah.
But I think the goal is to learn and understand that the other one don't have the right word when you're speaking in French, or
Mm,
you don't try to correct me every time. I'm not trying to
mm,
correct you every time.
mm,
But when we think it's very important because the
mm-hmm,
nuance is too big or the mistake is too big, we're trying to correct each other.
Hmm.
I know that sometimes it's honestly I'm pissed off when you correct me too much, and you're pissed off when I'm correcting you too much.
Well,
So
especially
because
if we're arguing, I'm like, this is not the time.
especially, but
Yeah.
most of the time it's because yeah, of course, it's hard to find the moment to
Yeah.
interrupt the other one to tell him or her like, oh, you made a mistake, and so sometimes I lose my the progression of my thought and everything. So, but
Yeah, it's a partnership really in this way.
partnership, yeah,
Yeah,
in this partnership working,
right.
and I think all the mixed couple
I know.
feel the same sometimes,
I
and
know.
I don't think if anybody think it's easy
Mm,
is wrong. This is
yeah. Well, something I
yeah,
thought was
wrong.
amazing when I was trying to find different connections in the
Mm-mm-mm.
city, and there was a moment where I started, we were dating, I was introducing you to different people, and
Mm-mm-mm.
there was a new person that I met who was like, "Oh, he's your boyfriend? Okay, well, so then you speak French." And I was like, "Well, what? Like like what do you mean? Like and it's like, well, obviously if you're dating,
That's why you're speaking so.
you guys, yeah, that's why you speak so well now, right? So like you're fluent now." And I'm like, "Oh, like that, right? Like just like magic. I kissed you and there we go. Like I speak the language." It's just I'm gonna still make an Instagram video of that. I know. It's
I
like
transmit French to
I
you. Like,
know, I know. And here we go. You're a Mandarin speaker now. Or like
yeah.
I just think it's a little bit insane, number one. But number two, not all couples who are from different linguistic backgrounds become us, actually, I will say. And
Hmm.
I don't mean to put us up on a pedestal, but I'm trying to say that we worked really hard to understand each other. The first time I heard you speak to other people in French, I think that's when I realized I wanted to lessen the gap between who I saw in English and who I saw in French
Mm-mm-mm.
because I
Mm-mm.
saw you so much more in French, right? And I heard it also when you spoke with me. I also saw it when you were with your family, right? Like things, parts that I felt, yeah, of course you can speak in English, but I almost felt like you were filtering yourself so much because that's what we do, right?
That's what we do, and I think we can't express totally ourselves when we
Yeah.
don't master
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
language.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm still trying to find my words and everything, so I can't really be 100% myself.
Right.
In French, I can be 100%
Yeah.
myself. And also, I think I discovered that, yeah, some years ago that my personality in English is a little bit
Mm.
different. Even if I could express everything,
Mm-hmm.
even if my English was perfect, everything, my personality will be a little bit different. Like
Yeah.
there is a little nuance.
You are so
Uh,
much, in the words of one of our mutual friends, you're groovier in English, and I agree, actually. You are, I think, a little bit more uninhibited, in English, surprisingly,
yeah, yeah,
in
yeah.
terms of
Surprisingly,
behavior.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think in the beginning I had to push me more in this
Mm.
language. As I
Mm.
said in the beginning of this conversation,
Mm.
I had to fight against my shyness, my French shyness.
Mm.
And so now I feel more comfortable and I feel like, I don't know, yeah, English and especially US English
Mm.
is so direct, so
Mm-hmm.
for me, so
Mm-hmm.
cool. So there is a link, like
Yeah.
all the movies I saw, all
Yeah.
the music I listened.
Yeah.
So maybe it's shortcut, but it's my
Mm-hmm.
own journey in this language.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I'm so like, yeah, I want to do
You're
that.
more fly, you're
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
It could be sometimes, yeah, a little bit
Yeah.
weird.
No.
But after when you know me a little bit in
Yeah.
French, I can be also like very, very
Mm-hmm.
expensive.
Yeah.
So yeah, but there is, yeah, for sure there is a little nuance. It's not completely someone different, but there is nuances, of course,
I
of
think
course.
people forget that we already do this with our native language or languages, and we already have to adapt
Sure.
in normal life. So why would it be different just because we change the language, right?
Mm-mm.
Something that people think is like, and not only that, I think it gets a layer deeper. People think, okay, so in work you talk like this, okay, and then in like social settings you talk like this. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
well, work is also social. Think more about your level of proximity, maybe to the person, right? So it could be your boss, but also if you're in a culture like in the U.S., we often call our bosses by their first name, right? So
Mm-hmm.
does that mean it's formal or informal? You have to kind of look at your own personal circumstances, right? And that's what obviously that's what Cultivate is all about, but the training side of it at least, right? But also this whole like getting back to thinking from a person-centric, human-centric, individual-centric position.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the key message that you're also describing here, right? Like how you
Mm-hmm.
took on this journey on your own, how we are experiencing it together. We're a couple, but we're experiencing it in our own ways.
I'm not sure, for example, even in French, that a lot of my colleagues speak to my boss the same way I can speak to my boss.
Yeah.
And I'm not disrespectful. It's just I found another way to not feel inferior. For example,
Mm-hmm.
I am taking this not feel inferior and not to show that I'm like inferior, like
Mm-hmm.
in the work hierarchy. Can guess that in your own work, when you're talking with people about their work or something,
Mm-hmm.
it's something you're really aware and you're always like trying to deal with where you can go, where you
Mm-hmm.
can't
Mm-hmm.
be yourself, but you have to respect certain rules
Mm-hmm.
and just it's
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's really really hard. And if you use this kind of sentences or this kind of words, you are over the rule or you are
Mm,
under or it's not you
right.
or the message is not what you want really what
Right.
you really want to say, and that's
Yeah.
the difficulties of communication. That's the challenge
Right.
of
I think the
communication.
biggest overstep that people have, the logical overstep that people have made is that they all think many, I can't say all, many people think that it's limited to a single culture or a
Mm.
single language or a single society. So I'm asked questions like, okay, so in the US, when you work, it's like this, right? And it's like, it's not just that the US is a
Mm-mm.
big country and quite diverse and really complicated. Everywhere you go, you need to be scaling it to your own personal circumstances. So you gave an example of how you talk to your boss is so
Mm-mm.
different than your coworkers, right? Why is that? Because you formed a different type of connection. So
Yep, yep,
that's all it is. And that doesn't change irrespective of language or where you are located
exactly.
geographically. And it gets more complicated because most of my clients, right, are on what's called globally distributed teams or multinational teams. And so they are working with teams from everywhere, connecting online generally, right? Speaking in English, but everyone has different kind of paradigms applied
Mm-hmm.
onto the
Mm-hmm.
social setting. And I really individually have to work with them to figure out, first of all, what is the landscape like? Where are you? What's going on? Okay, who are you then? And then how do we work with,
Mm-hmm.
this together?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not just not about boxes. It's like you're gonna have to figure out where you are, what your box is like, right? Like if you want to make a box
Mm-hmm.
for argument's sake and obviously to practice things,
Mm-hmm.
we can, but we need to know which ingredients are forming that. And that will
Exactly.
change if people in your organization change, if you
Mm-hmm.
get a new boss, if you have expanded work responsibilities, right? I hope, I hope this is the
And,
direction more people will go.
yeah, and that's where I think we cultivate the
Yeah.
work you're doing is so great because I was wondering if I had to do what I'm doing with my boss, for example,
Mm.
but in another language, in
Mm-hmm.
English, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Would I be able to do that?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. I'm not enough
Mm-hmm.
confident in my English. I don't have all the keys. I don't have all the reference. I don't have,
Mm-hmm.
and I couldn't be as direct as I am and
Right.
staying as polite as I
Right.
am. It would be so much harder to find this thin line, being
Right.
like, I'm talking equal to equal, but I'm not disrespecting you and your grade or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like we cultivate, it's the kind of work with some of your trainees.
Mm-hmm.
It's finding not only this line, but what are the words, what are
Yeah.
the way to express, keeping your own personality
Yeah.
and everything, and trying to
Yeah.
deal with all these things. And a conversation, it's also something like is alive. It's not writing. Writing, I can
Right.
stop,
Yeah.
think about, and you can read and answer after.
Right.
No, a conversation, it's something like really alive, and
Right.
so we have to think very fast. Yeah, we cultivate is that it's training people to be in this living environment
Right.
and have the tools. You're trying to give the tools
Yeah.
or how to use
Not
the
the
tools.
answers, right? The
No, no,
tools.
no, no, but how to maybe they can use the tools they already have, because
Yes.
most of the time it's people that have all the tools in their pocket, but they
Mm-hmm.
don't really know how to use
Right.
them.
Yeah.
And oh, maybe this one, you can use it like this, like that.
Yeah.
And in this globalized world, it's so important now because we have to talk with people from everywhere, with
Yeah.
different culture, with different personality.
Right.
Just so it's psychology, it's
Yeah.
language, it's
It's
sociology,
sociology.
is
Yeah.
exactly, it's
Yeah.
everything. It's sometimes
It's
just politic,
business.
business,
Yeah.
politic,
Yeah.
and sometimes just local culture. So really, what I like in this project, in this
Yeah.
idea, is you trying and we cultivate. We are trying
We're
and
trying.
trying
We're not
to.
alone, right? And I
No,
appreciate
no,
you
no, no.
mentioning that because I never want to present myself or the company as the sole solution because I'm so against that
Yeah.
as a concept. It's a little counterintuitive for people like, wait,
Mm-mm.
do you just lack confidence? Is that no, I'm perfectly confident in what I do, what the company represents. If we go into it with you thinking I'm the solution,
Mm-mm.
our progress and our road and your growth will be severely limited.
And I can tell to everybody that people you already interview in other podcasts,
Mm.
you're communicating regularly with them
Yeah, yeah,
and trying to exchange ideas, point of
yeah.
view,
Right.
method sometimes. Really something really open, and we cultivate. It's also that it's exchanging ideas.
Yeah.
It's really place to exchange. Of course, there is a part where you have your trainees and you are doing like one-on-one work and very specific work
Mm-hmm.
on
Mm-hmm.
very specific situation.
Mm-hmm.
It's a space,
Yeah.
an open space for all the good idea and people that are well-intentioned
Yeah.
to participate to this
Right.
think tank,
To this dialogue,
to this
right?
dialogue, to
Yeah.
this, yeah, we cultivate, create, and is trying at least to create
Yeah.
this space and
Yeah. And I did it because I didn't
to
see anyone
coordinate.
else doing it, you know what I mean? I didn't see anyone else trying to create this space where I see everyone trying to create
Not at
methods
this scale,
and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
to
Not at this
compete for
level.
the best, you know, and
Mhm.
I don't think we need more. I think we are oversaturated and over informed and over resourced and over everything. With technology, we have everything. And with AI and ChatGPT, we have way more than we ever had before. We don't lack tools, we lack spaces of understanding and for understanding and deeper places, right? To actually bring what we have and figure out for ourselves how we can best apply it. And I'm so happy to have you here, by the way. I'm so happy that you
Yeah.
agreed after
Thank you.
2 long years of talking about this, and you didn't really have a choice actually to,
Yeah.
well, you did have a choice
To be in
to be this involved. Yeah, you did.
exactly, like really concretely involved in like
Yeah.
every day.
All right, we need to wrap up.
I
You and
know.
I are both late for our
Yeah.
dinner plans. I see you looking at the clock, and I'm looking at it too.
Yeah.
So I just want to say, Yan, thank you. One, thank you for coming into my
You're
life.
welcome.
Thank you for also joining me on this this whole. I don't want to scare people by calling it a movement, but that's just to emphasize the global aspect of this.
Mhm.
But I'm also really excited to see your growth. You're learning a lot of new things through the work with the company, and also, you know, maybe we'll do a follow-up episode in the
Hmm?
future. You know,
On other topics, yeah,
exactly,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Thank you for invited me, and thank you for everybody's watching us and
mm,
believe in us, and we're gonna try really to give our best.
yeah.
So see you in 2 minutes.
See you in 2 seconds when I
2
exit this
seconds.
closet. Yeah. Okay. I hope you enjoyed this episode of We Cultivate the Pod. Make sure to subscribe here and wherever you get your podcasts so you can catch new episodes as they become available. I also share After the Mic reflections on Substack, the place where I dive into the themes that stay with me long after recording. Beginning in 2026, you can also find additional bonus content from guests and other We Cultivate extras. Subscribe for free to the Communication Shift on Substack. The link is in the show notes and in this description. Thank you so much for joining us this time, and I will see you in the next episode.